What's good, YouTube fam? It's your boy Tony, aka the Senator of Chaos and Controversy, and I guess today, I'm gonna have to take a step back, put that kind-hearted, mild-mannered, laid-back version of myself somewhere off to the side, and bring forth the antagonist. Okay. And upon me doing that, I guess I'm gonna have to just deliberately trigger some folks. So with that being said, I'm going to start off with this. It is said that nobody owes you anything in life. Anything that you come to achieve, you do it through hard work, dedication, grit, ambition, and discipline. Okay? So I want that to resonate for a moment for some people. Okay? A lot of the familiar talks comes to, I guess the examples would be when you have people running to the aid or the defense in favor of white people, saying that they don't owe black people a damn thing. Okay? And it depends on what it is that you are talking about or making a reference to. Do I look to say, hey, I believe people owe me something because I'm entitled to it? You know? I don't walk around with that attitude. I don't. Anything that I get in my life, I go out and I work for it. Or I put forth the effort in getting something that I have my sights set on, and I, lay out a plan and I execute it. Okay. I don't, for the sake of argument, have this victimhood mentality. Can I show compassion and empathize with people who are in a less fortunate predicament or have less fortunate circumstances surrounding their situation? Yes, I do. Yes, I have compassion. Does it lay primarily on one specific race? No, it don't. I look at people in similar predicaments all together. Okay. When I talk about unification in the content of one's character, I speak primarily to those particular points. But for some reason, that tends to just fly over people's heads. Because instead they want to focus on the trivial nonsense of anything that I present. Okay? And sometimes I have to present one particular side of things before I can move forward to discuss or talk about something else in relation to or in comparison to. Because in order for people to understand the comparisons, I have to first lay out the problem or the issue. Okay? But again, people fail to understand that. Now, I know recently there was all that criticism surrounding Simone Biles and her quitting or whatever the case may be. But I look at that example. This girl, from the age of 16 up until this point, being at the age of 24, had put in the work, had made the sacrifices, had the dedication, the discipline to go out and compete at a very young age, all the way up until her early adulthood. Okay? Yes. Did she have some training with the coaches and stuff? Yes. But it was the coaches and her. It wasn't me. It wasn't anybody else that was there. It was just her to put in that work and dedication. I don't know anything or the first thing about gymnastics or what it takes or the mental preparedness that it takes for a person to go out and execute what it is that they have to do. I don't. And when it comes to whatever that person is going through in their life, yeah, we may have an opinion about it. We might even criticize, judge, mock, make fun of, be assholes about it, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, she don't owe us a damn thing. She has accomplished enough in her life throughout her career as an Olympic gymnast to bring forth more than enough winnings on her resume to say, hey, I've given y'all enough. I made my mark. I don't owe nobody a goddamn thing. Anything that contributes to my success, I did it, not you. I did it, not you. Same goes for anybody else. Same goes for anybody else. If somebody happens to, I don't know, be a drug addict, let's just use that, because that could be the most thing to target to say, hey, you know what? They the scum of the earth. I despise drug addicts. I don't care too much for drug addicts. Whatever the case may be, they worthless. Even though you could be having a mom, a sister, a cousin, or whoever the case may be in your family, that is an addict. So much for family support. But I understand sometimes you get those people who burn their bridges. I understand that. Like, again, I can see things in its entirety. I have an understanding. But let's say that person didn't have any moral support. Everybody done turned their back on them. Said that they was hopeless, a lost cause. And they were like, you know what? I could have this defeative attitude. And I could either continue being a drug addict or whatever the case may be, drive myself to the point of suicide and just end it because I'm dealing with other demons aside from addiction that I don't get any help with or for. But instead, they said, you know what? In order for me to do better, I'm going to choose to be better, to do better, to get myself sober, to get myself on a righteous path. And they go to treatment, they go to counseling, they get themselves clean, they turn their whole life around. And they did it by themselves. Now, everybody wants to come around because now that person got a good job. That person ended up getting a good house, getting the cars, getting into a non-toxic relationship. Now everybody wants to come around them. But that person said, no, stay in your lane. Stay in your distance. I don't need you to come to me. I don't need you. Because I wasn't worth shit when I was at my lowest. But now that I'm at my highest, now that I'm deemed to be acceptable, now you guys want to come around. No, keep that consistency. Stay the fuck away from me. I don't need you to come and show your approval of the person that I am now. Could you blame them? Because again, they don't owe you shit. Everything that they've done for themselves. Not to get the approval of somebody else. Not to be, in the good graces of others when it's convenient to be that. No. And I understand there are certain circumstances that, factor into certain equations in regards to that particular example. But for the most part, people get to the point where they know where they stand with people. And they accepted it and they'll be okay with it. Just you continue being in that same standing when they get to be on the level where they are no longer looked at as being a disappointment. Okay? The victimhood mentality. Okay? I laugh because I see the hypocrisy and the contradiction. Because I was just looking at a story with the guy, the black activist, where he was confronted by these people because they were walking through the woods, and he was pretty much assaulted and threatened to be hung and lynched and stuff like that. And he was accosted and called all sorts of names and pretty much, you know, and there was charges filed against these people. Now you have the prosecution that wants to penalize the person who was the victim in this case, saying that if he doesn't forgive these people, that they were going to bring charges on him for being abused and victimized. Now, I find, and people say, hey, there's no racial situations going on in this country. But I want people to understand this. It doesn't just fall within law enforcement. It falls on the prosecution as well. Because the prosecution is another issue that contributes to the problem. So when you condone people with these prejudiced behaviors or racist, how should I say, practices, you know, because they did say that they want to lynch him. And if it wasn't for people that were witnesses to this to intervene and stop it, you know, he probably would have been another nigga hanging from a tree. And they would have ruled it as a suicide. But now, since he don't want to forgive them, because it seems like whenever there's something done when it comes to those in the black community by people who are white, we always got to be forgiving. We always got to be accepting. We always got to turn the other cheek, like in the Amber Greiger case. You know, the policewoman who went in and someone else's apartment and shot the dude for eating ice cream. And even though the brother and the judge or whatever was like, we forgive you, it comes to a certain point where sometimes forgiveness isn't enough because they expect that, oh, we could do this and get away with it because we will be forgiven. But let you do some fucked up shit. Nope, they rather execute you to the full extent of the law. And in this case, this is what the prosecution is going to do. Because you aren't going to forgive those who assaulted you, we're going to find something. And there's no evidence. And they said there's no evidence that we could find to charge you with what we're charging you. But because we're the prosecution, it's some woman prosecutor, I forgot her name. But nonetheless, there's going to be a penalty because you're not doing what we tell you to do. I don't understand. It makes no sense. But a lot of people like to say that we like to play victim. Nah. Because it's funny. When you look at, say, all the things that have gone on for over a period of time, and you had a lot of complaints against law enforcement, as I said again, before we got to the point where we are with technology and camera phones and stuff like that, and people recording, and you have recordings on the businesses and the surveillance that would tell a different tale outside the report that is made by an officer that contradicts the statement being made to cover the officer's actions. Because if an officer is so righteous and feel that they were within their means and right to abuse or kill or wrongfully arrest somebody, then there would be no reason to file a false report. Because if it was you or I to lie under oath or give a false claim or statement like that, we will be held in contempt. We will be cited for perjury. But not an officer. See, the rules that apply to us don't apply to them. Sounds familiar? Because it seems like the same thing was said about other people that law enforcement said that. Seems like rules apply to those people, but it doesn't apply to us. As the rules don't apply to officers, that don't apply to civilians. And whenever a civilian say that there is something that's unfair about the treatment that is brought upon us, we can't express our grievances because that is deemed as being playing a victim. But then an officer can sit there and cry and say, oh, they're going to fund us. Oh, we feared for our lives. Oh, they're targeting police. Oh, they're giving us a bad name. No. The department that condoned the actions of bad officers give you a bad name. Those getting away with the shit that if it wasn't for body cams and camera phones that record the actions and the behaviors of officers, give you a bad name, give you a reason to criticize, change people's perspective on why they say they no longer can't stand cops. And people want to designate that to fall solely and only on the black community who has this attitude or has this, I don't know, perception. No. Because you have business owners that sit there and say, okay, here come the cops harassing my patrons. What the fuck? You have people in the white community that's coming forward now. That's saying, you know what? This is what we get in our community when it comes to law enforcement and their harassment towards us. You see it in the Hispanic community. But being that we are put on the forefront of these issues and stuff, people only look at it as it just being an issue that falls solely and only on the black community. So when they look at us like we already are a joke to begin with in the eyes and the opinions of others, so we're not taken serious when we have a legitimate complaint. It's just, oh, there y'all go again, complaining about this and complaining about that. But then our complaint seems to resonate with other people's who have the same valid, legitimate complaints that we have put on the table. Oh, now you want to pay attention. Interfuckeresting. What else? I don't know. And then here's the other thing. People that, if you have an opinion about something, and it gets down to, the whole purpose of me making this video comes down to me standing on what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. If it's something that I don't agree with, it's because I find where the fault lies in that particular area where it's problematic. I don't condone certain things because I know that it's wrong. I'm not going to sit there and support something that I know that could be me in that predicament. Or that could be my children in that predicament. Or that could be my family in that predicament. So no, I'm not going to sit there and make excuses for that situation when I know damn well it's wrong. But because people got to side with something, they'll support it. Even if they know deep down in their core it's wrong. But hey, it hasn't affected them yet. It hasn't affected them yet. It hasn't reached their perimeter. And if you're right about something, and I see something, I'm like, well, you know what? I have nothing to say against that because the repercussions of the actions in regards to that situation, well, that person was justified and right in how they handled that. You don't get no argument coming from me if it's justified. if it was righteous. See, I know how to distinguish the difference. I'm not always rallying behind, yeah, because that's why in these certain topics of discussions that we have on these platforms, on these certain channels, and then you scroll down the comment section and stuff, and you see a lot of people that's always agreeing with you on everything that is being said, not challenging you. It's called the echo chamber. You know what I'm saying? Even if I do support certain channels, I do get the, hey, I don't agree with you on that. Nah, I'm gonna have to say, no, you're wrong in this. And people have done it to me. And even though I might have had some validation in where I was coming from, in the overall perspective, I could have been wrong. And I could accept that. But when it comes to other things that people just because you're this, and this is the reason why I don't get too much involved with the pro-blackness of things, because I could look at, say, African Diaspora or Roland Martin or other pro-black channels, then I'll say, up until a certain extent, I'll be like, you know what, you guys have valid points. But then when it gets to a point where you start becoming so anti-white or something, so to speak, I can't get with that. I can't. Because then you become exactly who you despise for that particular rhetoric. So if you're against a particular rhetoric, don't be just like those that discuss you and their behavior. If you're imitating and patenting that same behavior with your generalizations. And that goes vice versa too. Because you get these people that sit there and be so anti-black, you know, and say everything that they despise of the black community and stuff like that. But then when you go to look at their community, like, how come you ain't talking about that? Are you so quick to want to throw black people up under the bus with your bullshit and your rhetoric? How come you ain't addressing that issue? Or do you want us to address it for you? I'm just saying. Right is right, wrong is wrong. But again, when it comes to life, we have our own lives that we are responsible for. If we choose to be responsible for other people up until a certain extent, it's because, again, we want to see people do better. As somebody else have given us a chance, took a gamble with, to see the potential in. So they decided to support us in hopes that we become better. But aside from all of that, nobody owes us a damn thing. And we don't owe nobody else a damn thing. But if we choose to, it's because we want to. I want people to understand that. But anyway, until next time, until next video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Peace.